we're going to talk about pure six sense organs. We create karma that perpetuates rebirth through our six sense organs. But it is also through our six sense organs we become enlightened. Therefore, we take the same road back home. We will use the Shrakama Sutra to understand how to purify our six sense organs. First, we need to understand the origins of our afflictions. The main problem is our six sense organ. They always chase after sensory objects. Now let's look at the sensory objects. Every organ has two types of objects. Our eyes, when there is light, we see everything. When it's darkness, we see blackness. Our ears, when we hear sound, it's called movement. When there's no sound, it's called stillness. Our nose, when it's clear, it's called penetration. When it's congested, it's called obstruction. Our tongue, when we taste plain food, it's called blandness. When we taste a lot of variety of different flavors, such as spicy, sour, sweet, bitter, it's called variety. Our body, when it's in contact with object, it's called union. When it's in isolation, it's called separation. Our mind, when it has thoughts arising, it's called production. When the thought disappears, it's called extinction. So we're forever chasing after the six sense objects. There's two kinds of sensory organs. One is called the pure sensory organs, and one is called the superficial sensory organs. The superficial sensory organ is what we see on the outside, and the pure six sense organs, they are the refined, invisible elements of our organs. So let's first talk about the superficial organs. They are easy to understand. For example, our eyes is shaped like grapes. Our ears is shaped like fresh coral leaves. Our nose is shaped like double hanging cloth. Our tongue is shaped like crescent moon. Our body is shaped like the table. Actually, it's not a table. It's like a drum that is narrower in the waist, like a shape of a human. Our mind is like seeing in the dark room. So these are very vivid descriptions of our six sense organs. But in the inside, we actually have pure elements of our six sense organs that's attaching to the sensory objects. Our pure organs combined with the form. For example, we might be attached to what we see all the time. Some people, they might be attached to social media, always watching for other people's comments because that's what they think will give them happiness. Or when we see a medical report, all the numbers that is getting worse, then we might become very depressed. Whatever we see, it totally drives our emotions. Our ears resound with sound. So our ears pursue after these sounds. For example, if you hear that you are being promoted, you're very happy. If you hear that you're getting laid off, then you become very upset. So our emotion follows what we hear every day. Our nose, it takes in scent. For example, if you smell a homeless person, the odor is not very pleasant. You might have negative feeling or look down on the person, but you forgot that this person has the Buddha nature, and you, as someone who has the Buddha nature, should not look down on anyone. And our tongue is entwined with flavor. When we taste our favorite food, such as chocolate cake or ice cream, we're full of desires. Our body seizes upon contact. We love to touch soft things or soft skins. That's also because of our greed. And our mind grabs onto the Dharma. We have a lot of thoughts. A lot of time our thought is full of negativity, and we can think ourselves into depression. So we are always grabbing on to the sensory object. That's why we cannot be enlightened. What we need to do is to go inward. Stop seeking outward. Everything should be inward to your own self nature. See the essence. there's actually this essence in our six sense organs, the closest thing to our Buddha nature. It is actually still the Alaya consciousness before it starts thinking, discriminating, and perceiving, or ignorance. That's the closest to who we really are. We have an essence of seeing. We have essence of hearing, essence of smelling, essence of tasting, essence of sensation, essence of knowing. Only if we go inward can we see our essence. When we do not follow the 12 conditioned appearances of the objects, our pure essence will emerge. When clarity is pure to its essence, no matter what happens, there is no affliction. How do we come back to this essence? Now let's look at the efficacy. Buddha gives every organ a score. The perfect score is 1200. How do we come out with 1200? It's the 4 directions of east, west, north, south, times the 3 periods of past, present, and future, times the 10 Dharma rounds of the physical world, times the 10 Dharma round of the inner truth level. So together, it has a perfect score of 1200. Looking at our eyes, it only gets 800 because we see the front and left and right. We do not see the back. So it's deficient by a third. Therefore, it only gets the score of 800 merits. Our ear, it can hear everywhere, all directions. Therefore, it gets a perfect score of 1200. Our nose is deficient at the point between inhalation and exhalation. Therefore, it's deficient by a third as well. It gets a score of 800. Our tongue gets a score of 1200, the perfect score, because it can proclaim all worldly and transcendental wisdom. And our body only gets 800 because when it's in union, when it's in contact with objects, it can feel pain or pleasure. So each deserves a third. 1/3 is when our body is in separation, it's not functioning. So it's deficient by a third as well. So it gets a score of 800. Our mind gets a score of 1200 because it can know all the worldly and transcendental Dharma. Therefore, it gets a perfect score of 1200. So how do we use this? It's to help us narrow it down to one sense organ to go inward. So to narrow it down further, we should know that the nose, tongue, and body need to be united with the object for it to be useful. So we eliminate them. The eyes, ears, and mind, they are more useful because they don't need to come in direct contact with the object. We narrow down to these three. The mind itself is more deep, and the eyes and ears are more shallow. The deeper ones are harder to control because our mind, our thoughts change all the time. So we are left with the eyes and the ears. The eyes has 800 points and the ears gets a perfect score. Therefore, the final result is the ears. We need to go back to our essence through our hearing. This is the way that Guanyin Bodhisattva cultivates. He enters the flow through the hearing and forgot all sensory objects. So we need to return the hearing, listen to the self-nature till it reaches the supreme way. Do not go outward. Listen to all the sound, what this person is saying, not saying. Always go back to who you are. Know your essence. That's when you will reach the supreme way, the perfect enlightenment. This way of cultivation is the best way to return to our nature because it's very easy to concentrate our mind inward through hearing. When you have the way, cultivating for one day is the same as cultivating for eons. That is the same way as Great Strength Bodhisattva's way of Buddha Remembrance Samadhi. Chant the name Amitabha. Gather in all the six sense organs. have continuous pure mindfulness of the name Amitabha. That's how he reached samadhi and perfect penetration. We can all do this by going inward. So the conclusion is, as soon as one sense organ returns to the source, the entire six are liberated. It just takes one, the years, then you are liberated. Enter one faultlessly, and all six sense organs simultaneously become pure. It is how we return to our source, to our essence. This is called entering emptiness from existence. That's how we become self-enlightened. But when we want to go help all sentient beings, we need to turn it around. Enter existence from emptiness. That's when we use the six sense organs. Lodged at the organs is the revelation of the brightness that permits the mutual function of the six organs. When your six sense organs are perfectly pure, they can be used interchangeably. Your ears can see, your eyes can taste, so everything is possible. Why? Because you're no longer attached to the objects. You are not bound by this world anymore. This is the power that we all have inside of us. We just forgot it because we're so attached to the world. As long as we go inward, we will have this ability back. That's what happened to all the big bodhisattvas. Always know what your six sense organs are doing. When they are chasing outward, bring them back. Extract them inward and free them. Subdue them from the inner core. Once it's subdued, it will return to the inherent truth and radiate with its inner brilliance. So that's the class for today. Thank you for listening. Amitabha.